Welcome back everybody to the Smokin' Android. My name is Jared, and today we've got another comparison video for you guys today. Two of Motorola's more recent devices. On the left we have our Motorola Atrix HD 4G LTE, big mouthful, and on the right we have our Motorola RAZR V. Now you can get the Motorola Atrix HD LTE, no term pricing at $599, so $600, exclusive in Canada right now to Bell Mobility. And $49 on a 3-year term. And on the right here with the RAZR V, we actually have it on no term pricing for $399, $400, no term pricing, or $0 on a 3-year term. And as I understand, this is also exclusive to Bell Mobility here in Canada at the moment as well. And now, obviously, there's some big differences in the prices there, and those price differences will be reflected in the comparison because, you know, like the old saying goes, you get what you pay for. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now on the right here, we have the Motorola RAZR V. It is running Android 4.0. It's got a 4.3-inch display with the Color Boost technology and a QHD display of with 960 by 540 pixels. It does come with a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core Texas Instruments OMAP 4430 processor. It does come with 1 gigabyte of RAM and 4 gigabytes of internal storage, expandable up to 32 gigabytes. The rear camera on this bad boy is a 8 megapixel with flash, and the front facing is a 0.3 megapixel, or in air quotes, a VGA front facing camera. A little bit disappointing to see there. And it is packing a 1750 milliamp non-removable battery, as you can see there, which seems to be Motorola's latest way of going about batteries. Now on the left with the Motorola Atrix, of course, again, we're running Android 4.0. I would have liked to see Jelly Bean running on this one, just kind of coming out of the gate like that, considering the Atrix is one of Motorola's sort of flagship devices. However, it is what it is. It does have a 4.5-inch HD display with Color Boost technology, rocking 1280 by 720 pixels. That's right, this is Motorola's first device with an HD display, 720p, all right? It does have a 1.5 gigahertz dual-core Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 processor, which was really nice to see. 1 gig of RAM, 8 gigabytes of internal storage, expandable up to 32 gigabytes. 32 gigabytes here, 32 gigabytes there. I would have liked to see 64, but we'll get into that later on. It does also have an 8 megapixel rear facing camera with flash and a 1.3 megapixel front facing camera. Quite a jump over the RAZR V. And it is packing a bit of a larger battery at 1780 milliamps. So another 30 milliamps on the Atrix over the RAZR V. Now, if we want to talk about size comparisons, obviously width-wise and length-wise, they're going to be fairly different. However, in terms of how thick they both are, they're actually both 8.4 millimeters thin. And I'll just go ahead and refocus this for you guys so you can take a better look here. We'll go ahead and put these back to back. And you'll notice, aside from the hump there, that they're actually extremely comparable in size, 8.4 millimeters. Put them face to face there, let them kiss. And as you can see there, the lighting will grab it. They're the same size, which is interesting. Although I'm not really liking the hump that Motorola's decided to start putting on their devices. It kind of came out with the RAZR line of devices, and they've decided, I guess, to continue on with that design style. But I do find that the Atrix is actually a little more comfortable to hold in the hand. And I really think that that's due to the rounded edges that they give, or that they have given the devices. You can see here we've got some rounded edges going on there. I'll just refocus this for you guys so you can get a better look. So as you'll see there, we've got some rounded edges going on there, which makes it really, really comfortable to hold in the hand. And if I was to go ahead and put the RAZR V up, you'll notice that it does have those quite sharp edges compared to the Atrix, which we'll put side by side there. Much different. So when you are holding it in your hand, holding it up to your head to talk, whatever it may be, you can definitely feel those edges versus that of the round edges on the Atrix. So obviously, definitely in my opinion, the Motorola Atrix is much more of a pleasure to hold in the hand for long periods of time than that of the RAZR V. Now, if we want to touch base on build quality, and that's a big thing for a lot of people out there. Some of you may not care. I'm one of those people that do care. Build quality wise, I'm going to have to hand it to the Motorola Atrix here. It just seems like they've built it with some higher quality plastics. Again, just a few creaks and groans. Same thing with the RAZR V here, but of course both come with that unibody design that Motorola, as well as a lot of other companies, have kind of jumped on board with, giving it that really solid feel. But I am going to have to hand this one to the Atrix because I do believe that they actually have put in some higher quality plastics on this particular device over that of the RAZR V. Now, one thing I kind of wanted to touch base on with these two devices is that although they are similar, they've got a bunch of different external hardware features. Not to get into too much detail, but you'll notice on the Atrix that the power button is actually located on the right side, same as the volume rocker, whereas on the Motorola RAZR V, the power button is actually located on the top of the device, and the volume rocker is all by itself. Myself personally, I do prefer to have the power buttons on either side of the device, whether it be on the left or right. In this case, it's on the right side, and I think it actually works really well. It's actually quite ergonomic in my opinion, because if you're on the phone, and you want to just adjust the volume rockers or turn on and off the screen, you've got all of your buttons right there accessible. Whereas the RAZR V, I even mentioned this in my review that I really didn't like the location of the power button being up there at the top, because I found that due to its being, it having extremely recessed buttons in there, you might be able to see there. It actually makes it very difficult to press the button and turn it on and off. And because of that, I actually found myself squeezing the phone very hard in order to be able to press that properly. And I actually had to attempt to press it more than once to actually get the screen to turn on. Now, once more, the power button on the Atrix actually has what some of us call jimping, or some sort of a texture on it, which actually gives you some traction so that your finger doesn't slip off of it. Not that your finger really would slip off of a power button, but just in case, I guess it's a bit of a fail-safe. And of course, looking at the top as well, you'll notice that the Atrix, just like the Atrix 4G, has the HDMI output located on the top of the device, versus the old Atrix being on the side of the device, whereas the RAZR V does not have an HDMI out port, which was a bit disappointing, but again, that is yet again reflected in the price point. One other important piece of external hardware stuff I wanted to talk about is the Atrix, and this may be a little known fact. The Atrix actually has 3 microphone ports. It's actually saying that it's got 3 noise cancellation microphones. However, I'm assuming that they're using the actual microphone that you used to talk into as one of those sort of noise cancellation microphones. But there's also actually one on the back, up at the top, and one down here at the bottom. And this is actually using Motorola's new, what's it called again? Crystal Talk Plus noise reduction software. So that actually aids in Motorola's awesome call quality, because I don't know if any of you guys have owned a Motorola device before. Motorola devices have been really well known for their fantastic call quality. Unfortunately, on the RAZR V, we don't have that. We just have the single noise cancellation microphone on the back there, as you can see there. But of course, like I mentioned here, we do have 1, 2, and then of course we've got our microphone that we used to talk into. So you will have and find higher call quality. So if that's a big thing for you, call quality, then this might kind of be the device for you. Now, as far as the UI is concerned, both have Motorola's new sort of near stock Android. See, there you go. I went to go press the power button on the right side, but it's located at the top. But anyways, like I was saying, both have Motorola's new near stock Android UI, which is really fantastic to see. Again, like I've mentioned this in previous videos, that's definitely got to do with Google's takeover of Motorola. I don't want to call it a takeover. They just kind of purchased them, so now they've been absorbed and they're a part of them right now. But it's definitely showing in their new devices. In fact, recently Motorola just had that Motorola on display, their new sort of media conference coverage event of all their new devices, and all of them are actually rocking the same UI, which is awesome, nice and simplistic. We all know I love simplicity. It's not overloaded with a bunch of useless features. However, I would have liked to see just a little more of a wow factor. With the Samsung Galaxy S3, they had so many awesome features with the software, with the UI, that I actually ended up keeping the stock ROM for a long time before I decided to start playing around with custom ROMs. Just to give you a bit of an example of how much of a wow factor the Galaxy S3 software had. The new Motorola devices, in my opinion, don't have that wow factor with the exception of this cool little widget here. But one thing that both of them do have that Motorola is really trying to push out there and explain to people it's actually a fantastic feature is their new Smart Actions application. This application actually allows you to do things like I've mentioned in previous videos, such as, a bunch of automated actions. So if you plug in your headphones to your device, it'll automatically pick up the fact that you've, got your headphones on. Wow, look at this. Something's happening here. Something's happening here. It's not recognizing my touches. And so you'd plug in your headphones and it would automatically launch the music, or if you plugged it into your car dock, it'll automatically launch, the navigations, things like that. Really, really cool application with all kinds of neat features built into it. Something that I definitely recommend checking out if you are in the market to purchase a new Motorola device. So one of the big things these days, obviously, is the cameras on these devices. Companies are always trying to come up with awesome new cameras to put in their phones, but some of them fare well and some of them don't. So let's go ahead and do a bit of a comparison on camera here with you guys of the different cameras, or the cameras on both devices, and how they respond and react, the speed of them, and so on and so forth. So if you'll just allow me to locate the camera here, go ahead and take a picture of the official Smoking Android logo here, and we'll just focus this a little bit better for you guys. Alright, so as you can see there, we'll go ahead and just start taking pictures. So not bad. It's nice and quick. Again, this is the Motorola Atrix that we're using at the moment. And so we do have our settings where we can do all kinds of different stuff. Ooh, I'm getting all kinds of notifications right now. So very cool stuff there. We'll go ahead and jump into the gallery, look at the pictures that we just took, and we'll just switch it to landscape there. Alright, so there we go. So as you can see, not too bad. It's actually holding its definition pretty good. Nice and bright, vivid display, which also helps in the picture viewing on your phone. And so not too bad there. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the RAZR V can do. Go ahead and launch it directly from the lock screen, which I really like. I like how they put those shortcuts on the lock screen, which is stock now. So we'll go ahead and take a couple pictures here. As you can see there, it looks like the lighting, at least the white balance on the RAZR V, this is the RAZR V, by the way, isn't the same as that of the Atrix. It just doesn't look as high quality to me. I don't know about you guys. It's not bad, though. It's definitely not bad. We'll go ahead and jump into the gallery and take a look at how that looked. As you can see, so, I mean, like, pretty comparable. You'll notice something strange there. If it'll switch back. Okay, something really strange is happening now. See, I don't even know. See, now this is a software bug that we're dealing with. Let's go ahead and jump into the gallery one more time really quickly here. Alright, so we'll go ahead. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's really strange. Anyways, so as you can see there, the definition's not too bad, but I'm going to have to hand that one to the Motorola Atrix. It seems like the lighting and the color is just a little bit more true on the Atrix. All right, now one thing I did want to test out with you guys on camera here is the actual speaker, the external speaker quality. Not external, I'm sorry, but you know what I mean, the one that you don't use to put up to your face. And this is just for, say for instance you're playing games. If you're not using headphones, we obviously want to have some decent speakers because that'll also be playing your ringtones and any media playback that you might be dealing with. If you don't have headphones on. A lot of people also like to use their phones as kind of a portable boombox to fill a room or an office or something like that, if there are a group of people that maybe want to listen to music as well. So let's go ahead and start out with the RAZR V, and we'll just go ahead and jump into the music, which one thing I did again wanted to point out, which I really, really love, because Google has taken over Motorola, and they have obviously had a massive impression on the new UI of the new Motorola devices. You'll also find that they've got the stock Google Play Music app, which I really, really love. I don't like seeing proprietary manufacturer music applications on my devices, so this is a big one for me. So we'll go ahead and I'll just bring something up here real quick. All right, so here we are. Got some music going on here. We'll just make sure it's bumped up to full. All right, see if you can hear it from here, and then I'll put it up to the microphone right after. Keep in mind that my microphone's actually facing towards me and not the device itself. Go ahead and speed it up to some of the instrumental parts of it here. And I'll put it up to the microphone. So I think that it was doing a fair enough job. It's definitely loud enough to fill a room, but is it louder than the Motorola Atrix? Let's go ahead and find out. So we'll go ahead and jump into the applications drawer. I'm going to go ahead and locate play music, and we'll try and play the same song again. All right, so here we are. We'll go ahead and turn it up. It's full blast. Now I'll go ahead and put it up to the microphone. All right, so there we go. So I'll be honest with you guys, I'm going to have to hand this one off to the RAZR V. In my opinion, I think that the RAZR V was just a little bit louder. Maybe the Motorola Atrix had some deeper sounds that it was able to play a little bit better. But for the most part, this device was actually able to go louder without actually distorting the audio quality, which I think is quite impressive, to be honest with you. Now, I know a lot of you are probably wondering about the call quality, and I think I may have mentioned this earlier in the video, but the call quality on these devices have both been absolutely fantastic. You know, even dating back to my first Motorola, the Motorola Atrix 4G, the call quality on there was pretty good. It was a lot better than a lot of other devices out there, but it was pretty good. It wasn't anything fantastic. I wouldn't give it any gold medals. However, moving forward in time to where we're at now, and I gotta tell you that Motorola has done a really fantastic job on call quality. The call quality on the RAZR V was just slightly tinny for my liking. However, the Atrix, and let's go back here. The call quality on here is still awesome. In fact, it's better on the RAZR V than that of my Galaxy S3 as an example, or a lot of other devices that I've actually tested the call quality on. The Atrix HD LTE, on the other hand, I'm going to really have to give it a gold star here. Motorola has done an amazing job. Now, I don't know if that's due to their new Crystal Plus noise reduction software with their 3 noise cancellation microphones. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, guys, but it's definitely the way to go in terms of phone call quality. If that's a big thing for you, definitely the Atrix is the way to go, and that is probably also reflected in the price as well. Now, battery performance on these two devices have been really, really great. This one having the Motorola Atrix HD having, 1780 milliamps, and the Motorola RAZR V having 1750 milliamps, a bit of a 30 milliamp difference there. I gotta tell you guys, both have been really, really impressive. Obviously, the Atrix HD is gonna last just slightly longer, but it also depends on what you're doing. Now, I think the reason behind them bumping it up to 1780 is actually because of the 720p display, bigger display, higher resolution. You know, you're looking at a little bit more battery draining, whereas the RAZR V just has the QHD display. So maybe it didn't need to have that extra 30 milliamps of battery. Maybe Motorola didn't think that was really necessary. But battery life has been really great. I mean, of course, depending on what you're doing. Now, for light to moderate usage, you know, not a whole lot of gaming, not a whole lot of video watching, some YouTube videos, email, text messages, phone calls, things like that, just the average stuff, both of them have been great. In fact, I've actually, on average, been able to get in and around, well, maybe about a day, maybe a day plus of actual usage. I know you guys are probably like, that's BS, right? I'm telling you, I've used them both, okay, for a couple of weeks each, and both of them have stood up. Now, granted, in the mornings when I wake up, I do have to plug it under the charger. However, it's nice waking up and not seeing it's down to 2 or 3%, or that my phone is actually powered off, and as soon as I turn it on or plug it into the charger to give it enough of a charge to turn it back on, you know, there's a bunch of missed calls and emails and things like that waiting for me. So that was really impressive to see. I know that back in the day with the Atrix 4G, before custom ROMs and things like that started coming out, man, it suffered from a massive battery issue. I think there was all kinds of wake lock issues with their Motorola. Just did a really poor job with their coding. But I don't think that's the case in these two scenarios here. They've done a really fantastic job. And once more, smart actions will actually increase and could potentially increase your battery, like Motorola claims, up to 30% over and above what it's already at right now. So with that said, I mean, these devices set up properly with the smart actions application could actually get me halfway through, or at least into the afternoon of the next following day. Really great stuff there for Motorola. Now, speed differences. What are the speed differences between the two devices? Sorry, I knocked the camera there. I hope you guys didn't get sick from that. Speed differences are obviously going to be a bit different. The Atrix HD on the left here does have a dual-core 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm Snapdragon S4, whereas the RAZR V just has a 1.2 gigahertz dual core Texas Instruments. I'm always having trouble saying that. Texas Instruments 4430. Now, what does that mean to you guys? Well, it means that the Atrix HD is just slightly faster, just slightly. But in my opinion, the Snapdragon processor is actually a higher quality processor than the TIO map 4430. It just seems a little bit better for multitasking, gaming, and anything to do with video-related actions, things like that. But I will mention, though, that both of them, in my opinion, are actually suffering from a little bit of lag. Actually, the same lag issues. Although it's a little bit more noticeable on the RAZR V just because it does have sort of lesser higher end specs than that of the Atrix HD. But the Atrix HD is not as apparent as much. I mean, flipping through home screens and going between the applications list and back and forth. It's been all right. It's been all right, but in my opinion, it could have been a lot better. In fact, there's a lot of situations where I'm going between the home screen and the applications drawer, and there is a bit of a stuttering issue swiping between home screens. Sometimes I do get a bit of a stutter, especially if the device has been asleep for a little while. That's a bit of an annoyance, as well as a couple other tests that we're going to talk about as we go on in the video. The RAZR V, on the other hand, even though it does have just slightly lesser high-end specs than the HD does, it's actually, like I mentioned before, the lag on this one has been quite a bit more noticeable. Jumping between the app drawer, launching applications, GPS, things like that, just general everyday tasks, it seems to be sort of laboring a little bit more than the Atrix HD does. And that is definitely, like I mentioned, apparent in just average everyday tasks, which I was a little bit disappointed to see. Again, these things are always reflected in the price points, right? If having the fast device isn't exactly on the top of your priority list, the RAZR V is definitely the way to go because of its lower end price point there. So video playback, you know, talking about Netflix, videos that you've recorded, videos that you've loaded onto your device, things like that. It's been great on both devices. Definitely with Motorola's new sort of color boost technology there, I am seeing a difference, some higher contrast, some sharpness, all that good stuff. Definitely noticeable with these two displays here. However, of course, with the Atrix HD having, you know, a larger resolution, a bigger display, and it being HD 720p, you know, we are gonna have to hand this one off to the Atrix over the QHD display of the RAZR V. I also found that the RAZR V actually had issues playing H.264 video formats. Both of them are supposed to be able to play that video format, which, if some of you don't know, H.264 is actually an extremely high quality, high compression video format. So it's supposed to be able to provide you with some awesome high definition videos. And like I mentioned, actually, in I believe my review of the RAZR V, I tried to load a couple of different H.264 videos onto the device, tried to play them, and I think 2 out of the 3 wouldn't play audio, although the video was playing and looked just fine. And then the one that would play audio didn't actually have any video. Very strange there. The Atrix HD, on the other hand, I did manage to load some H.264 video formats on there. They play just fine right out of the box. No software issues, nothing like that. So that was also very pleasant to see. Now, gaming performance on both of these devices have been, well, okay at best. I know some of you are probably saying, what are you talking about? Okay at best. What do you mean, Jared? You know, both devices, like I mentioned before, seem to be suffering from the same lag issues. Although, like I mentioned as well before, a little bit more noticeable on the RAZR V, but both devices, they do seem to have that bit of a stuttering issue. They take a little bit longer to load games, things like that, especially, you know, big games. One thing I also wanted to point out is that on neither of these devices am I able to download or find or download games such as, you know, Nova 3 or the new Batman game, things like that, right? I don't know if that's because of copyright issues. I really highly doubt that. In fact, I believe it just to be because of the hardware. I think that these devices just can't handle those, and Motorola doesn't want to allow these super high-powered, high-performance, high-resource-demanding games to be run on these devices because they just can't handle it, which is really disappointing because it actually says a lot about the device itself. Although I will mention, though, that the games that you are able to download, and, you know, a lot of them are available for these devices. It's not like just because you can't find Nova 3 for these devices, it doesn't mean that a ton of other games and applications applications out there aren't going to be available for the device. There is a slew of high quality, high resource demanding games that I've been able to download and play on these devices. However, but again, like what I wanted to talk about was actually, long gaming periods, right? So some of you guys out there, you like to play your games for a long time. Some of you may be taking the train from work to home a lot, and you've got a couple of hours to kill, things like that. You want a device that's going to be ergonomic, it's going to be comfortable to hold in your hand for a long time. And what's interesting is I actually got a comment from a viewer that said that he actually likes the extra large bezels on the sides of the device, which I might add, I actually don't like these massively large bezels. It just takes away from screen real estate that could have been there. But getting back on topic, it's actually, he mentioned it's comfortable to hold because this way you're not finding that you're, hitting the screen when you don't want to, things like that. It's actually just comfortable to hold. And I could see how that would be comfortable to hold for long periods of time, also when you're watching videos. So that's pretty cool to take note of. But one thing I did want to take note, which is also kind of a con on both of these devices in terms of gaming and in that sort of department, is that both batteries get extremely hot after only about 10 minutes of gameplay. 10 minutes of gameplay, and they were getting very warm on the hand and uncomfortable, and as comfortable as they are to hold while playing the games because of the massive bezels on them. Again, the battery gets hot, and that's never a good thing. Whereas if I was to compare it yet again to the Galaxy S3, the Galaxy S3 after 10 minutes of gameplay is just slightly warm, if that. And that could also be just attributed to your own hand heating up the back of the device. After about 20 minutes to half an hour of gameplay is when I noticed the Galaxy S3 start to heat up a bit. But again, these ones, after about 10 minutes, started to get hot and, yeah, quite uncomfortable. Now, one thing, and this is a big thing, and again, this is reflected in the price point, the Motorola Atrix HD has a massive connectivity plus over top of what the RAZR V has. The RAZR V only has HSPA plus. It only ships in HSPA plus. So there's no way you're going to be able to get those awesome 4G LTE speeds that are available on a lot of other devices that are coming out these days. The Atrix HD LTE, on the other hand, does of course have 4G LTE connectivity. And again, just keep in mind that although the battery life on both these devices are great, again, maybe that extra 30 milliamps of battery power, the 1780 over the 1750 of the RAZR V, could also be attributed to the 4G LTE connectivity. So talk time is also going to be deteriorated a little bit because of that 4G LTE connectivity, and that's definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind. So, with the big 720p HD display, 4.5 inch over the 4.3 inch QHD display, 4G LTE connectivity, HSPA plus connectivity, battery life, I'm going to have to say they're going to be comparable, but again, the Motorola RAZR V might actually pull it off on this one. So just before we end this video, you'll notice that we've got both devices connected on Wi-Fi, and I just wanted to do a bit of a browser test for you guys here. I've actually been requested to do some browser tests for you guys here, so I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and load up some YouTube action here. All right, so we've got YouTube selected and ready to go on both devices. We're going to go ahead and press both of them at the same time, and it looked like that was not a very fair comparison at all. We'll go ahead and try that one more time. Actually, instead of trying that one more time, what I'm going to do is actually launch the desktop versions of YouTube on both devices at the same time, and hopefully that'll give us a bit of an idea on the browser loading speeds on these two devices. So let's go ahead and get ready. Hopefully I can hit them at the same time from behind the camera here. And bam. Nope. Did I do it? Oh man, it's really hard. I'll go ahead and hit that anyways, if it's gonna work. Oh, there we go. We might be witnessing some yeah, you can see that we were having some issues on the RAZR V. In fact, again, that's something that I've forgotten to include in this. I have been noticing some touchscreen issues with the RAZR V in particular that I haven't been happy with, and that isn't just with browser-based activities, that's also with games and applications. I've noticed that the touchscreen's actually been missing a little bit, so that's a bit disappointing to see, as well as on camera. But anyways, guys, that's basically it. Both of them load up pretty quick. I mean, they're both on Wi-Fi, but just to give you guys a bit of an idea here, we'll just go ahead, and you can see a little bit of stuttering there once it's already loaded up. A little bit of stuttering again there on the Atrix HD. And on the RAZR V here, lots of stuttering going on there. As you can see, tons of pinch to zoom lag. Very disappointing to see. I have no idea what's going on. So there you go, guys. That is our comparison of the Motorola Atrix HD LTE from Bell Mobility against the Motorola RAZR V, which only has HSPA Plus, might I add. Again, from Bell Mobility. Awesome. Both great phones. Could use a little more, in my opinion, to compete against the other devices out there. But fantastic phones all around. I've been very, very pleased with both of them. The user interfaces, the battery life, the displays on these things are all definitely satisfactory, at least above satisfactory. Very pleased to see this stuff. Anyways, guys, thanks again for watching. Hopefully this video didn't drag on too long for you. For those of you that did watch, thank you very much for watching. Show me some love, if you don't mind, by hitting that likes button down below. And if you haven't already, you might want to consider subscribing for more videos like this one in the future by hitting that button over there. And let me know in the comments below if you guys have had any experience with these devices, and if so, what was your experience? Between these two devices, based on the facts that I've stated in the video, which one would you purchase if you had to choose between the two? Which one would you purchase? Personally, I'd probably purchase the RAZR V just because of the smaller price point and the comparable specs, because it's not that far off from the Atrix HD. But again, that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.